Whether you're a professional carpenter or not, cutting angles for trim and crown molding can be really tricky, especially with any angle that is not 90 degrees. So today, we're going to take a look at 109 Tools' miter angle finder, which is developed by a South Korean carpenter with 25 years of experience. He's made a tool that makes it super easy to find out exactly what your miter angle settings need to be on your miter saw. So first we have one of the larger ones. It comes in this really nice case. So we've got a knob here to tighten it and lock it. I'm just going to loosen that. Two arms that swing in and out, 360 degrees. If you twist that, again, you can lock it. And you have measurements on both sides that we will get to in a little bit. So, unlike standard protractors with their half moon shape, they're really only good for outer corners. This works for both inner and outer corners. So again, you can do that. You can measure a corner like this, lock it in place, get your measurements, or for the inside corners here, hold it up, lock it into place, and get the angles that you need. Now when it comes to cutting miters, things get a little confusing. So if you have a basic, perfect 90-degree angle, then all you need to do is set your miter saw setting to 45 degrees, right? That way you're going to have two 45-degree pieces that are going to make that 90-degree angle. But if you have anything that's not 90 degrees, for example, right here we have, go ahead and loosen that. I'm going to put the arms against the walls. I'm going to tighten it, and I can see, okay, we have a 110-degree angle. So if we do the same thing, if we divide 110 in half, just like we do with the 90 degrees, we're going to get 55 degrees. If I take that 55 and I set my miter saw to 55 degrees, those pieces are not going to go together. That's not how it works. You need to have a different value. Now you have an option of doing trigonometry and calculations, or with the 109 Tools compass, you can actually just look. You see 110 degrees that we just measured, and right next to it is your miter saw setting. So it's going to tell you immediately, without any math, without any pencil work, exactly what you need to do right away. So I have my angle, 110 degrees. Again, I'm not going to set this to 55 degrees. I'm going to check here and see. I need to set my miter saw to 35. For 110 angle, I set it to 35. Just to give you another example, if it were 120 degrees, I would set it to 30. Right? We're not just splitting it in half. There are different equations going on. So in this case, I want 35 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead. I've set it to 35. I'm going to go and cut my board. There we go. Got my angle. I'm going to go ahead and perfect. So now when it comes to this angle right here, I've already done it, but I'll just show you the process I went through. I went ahead, put my protractor here, make sure they're flush against the wall, and I see I have a 70-degree angle. 70 degrees divided by 2 is going to be 35. That is not correct. So we're going to check and see that it's actually 55. So I'm going to set, or I already set my miter saw to 55 degrees. I cut that, and that is this perfect miter right here. And for one more example, let's take this corner right here. So I'm going to go ahead, measure from the top, make sure they're both flush. There we go. Now, I'm going to look right here where it says over 90 indicating arrow. So look at the arrow, I see that is 140 degrees. And the setting I want for my miter saw is right next to it, and that's 20 degrees. So for that angle, for that corner, I would simply set my miter saw to 20 and I'd be all set. When you're installing crown molding, it's a little bit different. Now usually, when you're cutting crown molding on your miter saw, you're going to need to install a jig and then cut it. But with this tool, you don't need that jig. You can simply lay your crown molding flat on either side, adjust your saw, which I'll get into in a moment, and then you're good to go. So here's how you do it. When you measure your angle, the angle of your corner, whether it's your inside corner or your outside corner, you're going to get values on the back specifically for crown molding. So if I go ahead and I measure, let's just say I measure this angle, for example, make sure it's flush, we'll do it at the top. Now on the back here, where it says crown molding, I'm going to see my angle that I need for the miter saw and my angle that I need for the bevel. And it's going to be right here in one location. I make that cut and I can put it up there immediately. I don't have to do any math. I don't need to figure out the cosine on my own because I've got the cosine cutoff angle values all laid out for me. So let me give you an example. So let's say I want to find my measurements for this piece. I've already done it, but just again by way of example. So I'm going to take my tool. I'm going to measure, we'll do this angle first. Up top, make sure it's flush. Now, like we already found out, it is 110 degrees. If I flip it over, where I get the cosine of the angle values, or my crown molding section, I can also follow this arrow, and I have two numbers here, I have 26.3 and I have 23.9. Now the first number is going to be the setting for my miter saw. And the second number, that 23.9, is going to be the angle for the bevel. So I'm going to set those, make my cut. That side is done. It took no math. All I had to do was look where the arrow pointed. There you go, perfect. All right, so let's try two more corners, two very different angles. First, we're gonna have this outside corner, excuse me. Okay, now we're gonna look. Now, in this case, because it's an outside corner, it's less than 90 degrees, we're gonna look at that meeting point. So we're gonna see 70 degrees here. We're gonna flip it over. Cosine of the angle values. This is going to give us the information that we need for this cut. We have two numbers, 45.3 and 35.4. So that first number, 45.3, is going to be the angle of the miter. Okay? And then the second number, 35.4, is going to be the angle of the bevel. So I set those two, I make my cut, super easy. Now let's do one more. We'll go right here. We'll do this inside corner. Now that is over 90 degrees, so we don't look here. We look at this arrow where it says over 90 degrees, indicating arrow, and we see, well, on this side, 140 degrees. On this side, for our crown molding table, we have two numbers, 14.4 and 14.0. Again, the first number, 14.4, is going to be the miter angle, and that 14.0 is going to be the bevel angle. So, in a simple glance, just one glance, you get exactly what you need. No math, no cosine, no numbers. Take a look, set it, cut it, and you're done. So here we have two different sizes. We have the larger one, we have a medium size, and they both have the exact same information, everything you need for your cuts. The 109 Tools Miter Angle Finder Protractor can be used in all weather conditions, anytime, anywhere. It's got all the information you need if you're doing this kind of work. I highly, highly recommend it.